Again, welcome everyone to Careers at Stride Presents. My name is Andrea Wilson, also known as Drea, and we'll be talking about today virtual teaching at Stride Inc. Is it for you? If you're just joining, I know we have quite a few people in the chat box just saying hello, saying what state they're from, so feel free to say hello in the chat. We will be having a question and answer later on in the presentation. So feel free to hold your questions until we get to that point. But I will get started. And then after I just share some things with you about Stride, I will have our teachers and teacher trainers to come on and we will share more information about their experience. Okay, so to those that, if this is your first time, welcome. If this is your second or third time come to a webinar event with us, welcome back. Things have changed a little bit. Now that you see K-12 is now Stride. We are still K-12, but now K-12 is now a Stride company. So with Stride, basically we have, for the past 20 years, we were focused on K through 12, but now we are more focused as the stage of learning does not end at 12th grade. So we also have added some courses that deal with college prep, and we also have courses now that help with career prep as well. So we still, K-12 believes that learning is for everyone, but we do focus on everyone being a lifelong learner. So that's why we transformed into Stride, and we wanted to make that learning experience a lifelong journey. So I've listed just some of the people that we support. Again, those are advanced learners, homeschoolers, college and career-minded students, which why we've added our college prep courses and our career prep courses as well. And anyone just looking for education that fits an alternative schedule. Examples would be like athletes, military families, or performers. But again, we believe that education is for everyone. So as far as online learning, how it works here at Stride, I was about to say K-12, how it works at Stride, all of our K-12 Stride-powered teachers, they are state certified and they are thoroughly trained. They meet with their students in an online virtual classroom. Now, we do have schools that are blended, but due to the pandemic, all of our schools are virtual. And our teachers, they communicate with our parents primarily through email or phone to discuss student progress. Now, as far as our virtual teaching at Stride, now some of these, again, this can vary from school to school. So I want to preface that before going into, what virtual teaching is and what virtual teaching is not. So we try to give a general idea of what it's like virtual teaching at Stride. This is a full-time role, and typically the day is from 8 to 4. Again, that can vary, and you'll hear from some of our teachers on what their daily schedule is like. But we want to preface that it's not a part-time role or a role that you can stay home if you're in need of childcare, that you have to be, focused on teaching. There's asynchronous and synchronous times that you will be teaching. As far as which goes into, there's live instruction to classroom students, and the sizes can vary. Again, you'll hear about that later. And it's not, just posting slides or videos or one-on-one tutoring. So you do have a class that you will be teaching. As far as virtual teaching, you are building relationships with teachers and students. So it's not you by yourself and you're just teaching your class. We do have a very big teacher community, and that's what we will have some of our teacher trainers to also talk about that as well. And our school involvement and spirit, it also continues continuous improvement through our our professional development that we have. And we'll talk about that too as well. So just giving you a general idea of the virtual teaching at Stride, but we will have our teachers to come on to give you a more in-depth level, because we have teachers from K through 12 that will be talking today. We have a elementary school teacher, middle school teacher, we have high school teachers as well to talk to you all, and our teacher trainers. So what I'm going to do now is have them to come on the mic and just give their name, their title, and school that they're with, and then we'll move on to the differences in virtual teaching. Actually, we'll go by the slide, but if Jessica, if you want to go first.
Sure, my pleasure. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Higgins, and I teach for Texas Online Preparatory School in Texas. And I currently live in Fort Worth, but I teach students all over the state of Texas. I'm an 8th grade math teacher. I'm also the 8th grade lead teacher. So if you're a teacher in Texas, we have what's called the T-test. And as a lead teacher, I sort of do teaching and sort of leadership T-test roles in that as well. It's really neat, something I actually never thought I would be doing, but the growth opportunity at my school has been amazing. This is my 6th year with a K-12 school, and so far I really, really love it, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
Thank you, Jessica. Next, we will have Kelly. If you could jump on the mic and tell us your name and school and how long you've been with us as well.
Hey, so I'm Kelly Lecott. I work at Insight Academy of Arizona. I live in Phoenix, but also serve students all over the great state of Arizona. I teach high school science. This is my 3rd year, and this year I also picked up our social emotional learning course, 7 Mindsets, and I lead a 7 Mindsets team in teaching that at our school as well.
Thank you, Kelly. And Turkesa, hopefully I'm saying that right. If you'd like to jump on the mic and tell us the school you're with and how long you've been with us and your grade.
Good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much. My name is Terkisa Bullock, and I am with the Destinations Career for New Mexico. It's a new school part of Stride, and I am the science teacher. I do physical science, and I also do chemistry. And this is my first year with Stride, and I have 10 years of teaching experience as a science teacher, but I have been brick and mortar. I have did some online teaching before, but not like Stride. I have completely enjoyed it so far. And I live in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I teach a lot of the students in New Mexico. I have been enjoying it so far, and it has just been a great experience for me and as well as for the students.
Thank you so much. Lauren, if you want to jump on the microphone.
Hi guys, my name is Lauren Snodgrass. This is my first year teaching virtual. I am with Tennessee Virtual Academy, but my students are from Memphis all the way to Johnson City, and I'm in East Tennessee in the Knoxville area. I have 10 years teaching in brick and mortar, and like I said, this is my first year with virtual, and I teach 2nd grade English and social studies, and also do an intervention class.
Thanks, Lauren. And we'll also have our teacher trainers to introduce themselves as well. So Christina, you can go ahead and hop on the mic.
Hey everyone, my name is Christina Russell. This is my 9th year with Stride. The first 6 of those years, though, were spent in the classroom teaching middle school and high school English. And then I became a coach and a teacher trainer. And so now I get to work with teachers just around the country, supporting them in their classrooms. And I'm from Denver, Colorado.
And Nancy.
Hey guys, my story is super similar to Christina. So my name is Nancy Gendro and I'm also a teacher trainer here. Started with teaching virtually after I did some brick and mortar back in 2011. So I've been around a while, taught for 7, 8 years virtually for Insight Minnesota. Moved to coaching and now I'm working in the teacher training department as well. And I live just outside of the Minneapolis area and I'm naturally kind of a high school math teacher. So that's my background.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy. So these will be the wonderful people that you'll be hearing from today. And we're going to move to our different topics as far as what's different about virtual teaching. So I'll first start with just the daily schedule. And again, since that ranges, I'll start with Lauren. If you could just tell me about what your day looks like as an elementary school teacher, and then we'll go down the line from middle school to high school.
Sure. So my day starts at 8 a.m. Eastern time and goes to 4:30. And the first hour of my day is spent catching up on emails from the day before, doing some correspondence with administration, checking to make sure technology works for the day. My first class is at 9. It's a 45-minute live class. And I have another 45-minute live class at 10. So those are my 2 English classes. And then 11:30, I do my intervention class. Lunch from 12 to 12:30. 12:30 to 1:30 is planning time, getting in touch with parents and students, asking our teacher leader if there are any questions we have about anything. And I teach social studies from 1:30 to 2:15. And then the rest of the day is spent planning for the next week or even further out. So it's a pretty busy day. It's not just 3 classes and then you get to take a nap. It's active planning, active communication with your teacher partners. And this is my first year virtual, so I was very surprised at how close I am with my teaching community throughout the day. So that's something that I really enjoy about working with Tennessee Virtual Academy.
Thanks, Lauren. And I'll go to Jessica just to ask what it's like as far as middle school, what your daily schedule is like.
Sure. At Tops, it's different for every school. This is my second K-12 school to work with. I used to work with Texas Virtual Academy, which is now Texas Virtual Academy at Hallsville. And I will say that every year for the last 6 years, my schedule has changed. So it's very different every year. And yes, thank you, Texas Online Preparatory School. So with Tops this year, my schedule is similar to Lauren, where the first hour or so is responding to emails. I usually get lots of student emails in the afternoon, evening when they're working on their assignments and watching my class recordings, and they have questions. So I answer those first thing. I go review my lesson that I'm going to do, make sure everything's ready, make sure my links are working correctly, and I set up my class. And then at 9:20, I teach a 50-minute math class. And right after that, I have a 30-minute tutorial session, and that's Monday through Thursday. And then Fridays are a little bit different because we have what's called genius hours and club time on Friday mornings. So Monday through Thursday, though, math is at that time. And then at my school, every subject has a specified time. So different subjects teach at different times. But that's the math time. And then the rest of the day, I'm answering emails. I'm attending 504 meetings or special education meetings, lots and lots of emails. I am a lead teacher, so I have leadership meetings that I need to attend. And it's just a lot of parent-student communication, phone calls. We do a lot of texting and things like that. Lots of lesson planning. Like Lauren said, my PLC, our group, we are very tight. We text and communicate all day, every day. And we all plan together. It's a real team environment. It's such a close community, even though we're all spread out all over the place, which has been really great. But we plan together and we communicate together. And so it is a very busy day, and my day is 8 to 5, but they do let us have an hour lunch if at any time kind of throughout the day when we can fit it in. So that's my day.
Thanks, Jessica. Now, Kelly and Teresa, I know you both are teaching high school science. So if one of you wants to talk about your daily schedule, jump on the mic.
Sure, no problem. I would love to talk about my daily schedule. With my daily schedule, in the beginning of it, I do my class connects, and my class connects are normally about 30 minutes long with my students, and I do 2 of them in the morning because I have the physical science and the chemistry. And what we do in those class connects is that I actually look at the unit that we're doing at the moment, and I actually show them some cool videos, or I ask them like some questions, like review questions, or if they're having any problems through the unit. And so those class connects can last between 30 minutes, and sometimes it can go a little longer, or sometimes a little shorter. It just depends. And so then sometimes what I would do after that is that I would go in and start grading the discussions and the assignments, answering emails, and then in a few, maybe a couple of more hours, I do 2 more class connects. So we have these class connects throughout the day. So that way that the students will not just feel like, okay, I'm just going in and doing the work without connecting with the teacher. And it's really cool to do because during those class connects, sometimes the students can come up with questions that they, couldn't think about while they were doing their work. And so it's a perfect moment for us to get together and engage. And I like to do some little quizzes after that. And after the class connects, sometimes I have IEP meetings or 504 meetings, answering emails. And so with the high schoolers, it's a little bit different because high schoolers can tend to do more on their own. But the class connects can also give us a moment to catch up with each other and engage with each other and just ask each other some questions. And they love quizzes. It's because that gives them a competitive nature. And I like to give them extra points when someone can outscore the other. Because with high schoolers, there's nothing like competition. They just absolutely love that. And that's been one of my best tools so far is to get them to compete with each other. So, and for me, with the virtual aspect of it, other than a brick and mortar, when it comes to high schoolers, the high schoolers for virtual learning, they tend to be more independent because they are aware that, okay, I have to get my work done and this is what I have to do. But at least throughout the day, they know I am there. So when it comes to a student normal day in virtual, they're like, okay, even though I am at home and I'm doing my work, I'm doing class connects, so I'm meeting my teacher face to face, and I'm also seeing other peers face to face. And then of course, also, I know my teacher's there. I could email her anytime I want. And so it's almost as if, when they're in regular school or traditional school, just like if they come up to your desk to ask you a question. Well, that's the same thing with the emails, because as I'm sitting here throughout the day, I can instantly reply back to an email. It almost takes me less than 2 to 5 minutes to answer an email. Even if I'm in a meeting, I can pause and check my emails. So it's a really good thing when it comes to the virtual environment for high school teachers, because we do have that sense of that student being just a little bit more independent. And so therefore, we don't have to engage that student with the lecture the entire time. Our class connects are more about engaging, connecting, answering questions, and just going over some material that someone might be not quite completely thorough on. And then that's pretty much it for high school. High school is for me, it's fun in that way, because I get to learn so much more about the students on an individual level. I hope that helped out, Andrea.
Hey, no, that's great. I did want to ask, because I saw Kelly was talking about the lab, and I did want to ask that as far as since you're teaching science, what does that look like as far as a virtual space doing? Because I did teach biology.
Yeah, it's a great question with the labs. Like for me with the chemistry labs, some of them are labs that they can actually do at home. And so they get these materials and they have them at home. And so for me, they take pictures of it or videos, which is awesome. I love the videos, by the way, because once they build the project, or when they do an experiment, and they're safe experiments for them to do at home, then I can actually see where they did the experiment, and they get help from a parent or a sibling or a friend. And so I really love that aspect of it, because when they upload the pictures or the videos, I get to see their hands-on aspect of the course room. So the labs for me are special. And the labs that they don't have at home, they're like a simulation. So in that simulation, they get to pour chemicals together, and they get to see them mix simultaneously. And it's really cool for them, especially like a titration or oxidation reduction. They enjoy that. And they're like, oh, that simulation was so cool, Ms. Bullock, and I really enjoy that and everything. And they like that aspect of it. So that's how a lab looks for chemistry, and even the physical science, although the physical science have more of the physics aspect. So they get to build projects at home, like a paper roller coaster, or a slingshot and things like that. And then they record it for me, and then they'll send me a video. But that's how the labs look when it comes to the chemistry or the physical science aspect.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we're going to move to our curriculum and lesson planning. And before I go back to Lauren to ask her as far as elementary, I wanted to ask Kelly as far as what that looks like for you when it comes to your lesson planning for the day.
Yeah, so back to high school. Our school is very regimented. We have daily classes. We have a bell schedule throughout the day, so students are in class all day. And because of that, our teachers' individual schedules are also very regimented. So we have to, at the beginning, we are on a trimester system. So, 12-week trimesters throughout our year. At the beginning of every trimester, we actually have to have an entire printable calendar planned with what we're going to teach every day for the entire trimester. So that's our pacing. And then the daily lesson planning, really, if you're a first year teacher, if you get lucky and, whoever's place you're taking passes down their PowerPoint presentations to you, then that's, you get a little gold mine. Then you don't have to spend as much time lesson planning, because you can just kind of tweak those to how you want to do the lesson. This is my third year here, and the course has changed. Even though it's always been biology, it has changed several times. And two of the changes were major. So it was like being a first year teacher all over again. So in those cases, I was usually up at 5 a.m. trying to figure out exactly what I was going to teach for the day or the next couple of days. And, building those PowerPoint slides from the ground up. But once, just like in brick and mortar, once you have your plans, it gets a little easier from there. So you're not like reinventing the wheel every time. You'll find, you're constantly tweaking it. Oh, this didn't work so well when I went to this activity with students, or I wasn't comfortable doing that. But I would say I spend that first morning. So my first class is at 8:15. I'm logged in by 7. I spend that first time making sure that I'm good to go. So I would probably spend 45 minutes to an hour lesson planning a day, just kind of in a normal trimester. It is kind of on the back end, as other people have touched on. Your biggest tasks for the day are just student contacts. You're just on the phone and emailing a lot. Communication is a big part of the day, and that's probably Stride wide. So lesson planning isn't such a big part of the day, just because Stride provides a good curriculum. And once you've got your pacing done, really it just kind of comes into how are you going to teach it. A big change for us this year too is we transferred from a Blackboard platform to Neuro, which is something that, maybe whoever's talking about technology can touch on. But that has kind of changed how we're doing our lessons and our presentations, because we're in a new virtual platform, which is for the most part better, but even good change is still change. So I'm having to rethink how I used to do, tours through breakout rooms and Blackboard or something. Now I have to do things a little bit different. But yeah, not a whole lot of time developing the lessons just because the curriculum is provided by Stride, more time making sure that you align with your state standards. So there'll be things you take out because you don't need them. Or just kind of how are you going to present that lesson? You want them to read it in the online curriculum, but then you also have to synchronously teach that lesson.
Thank you, Kelly. Now, Lauren, since you're teaching elementary, and I know you said interventions, and that you're referring to special education, correct? Okay. Could you tell us about just your lesson planning as far as the elementary side?
Okay, so when I said intervention, we have the RTI groups. It's tier 2, so kids that aren't qualified for special ed, but they still need a little extra boost. So we have a lot of those throughout the year, new kids coming in based on their benchmark test scores, their case scores. So that's every day. That's a 30-minute class every single day. As far as lesson planning, I got one of those gold nuggets that she was talking about. Our team uses Google Drive to store lessons from 2017 until now. So every time we plan, we just have to go back to the previous year's lesson on that particular standard, make sure it still matches up, tweak things to make it relevant for the current year, and that's it. So our team really does share the planning load. I feel like Stride, especially my Tennessee Virtual Academy, really takes teachers into account as people and doesn't want to overload us so we can be our best selves every day. So as far as my team goes, we each take like a day to plan. So like, okay, you're going to plan Mondays nonfiction. You're going to plan Wednesdays writing task. That way everybody can concentrate on just a little portion so that we can still keep those communications open. And like you were saying, I can't remember who was talking. Stride really does provide a rich curriculum. So we don't have to go to Teachers Pay Teachers and search everything all the time. It's there. We just have to fit it in to where it works with our classroom.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. And before we move to digital tools and resources, and I'll have Nancy to talk about that further, I just wanted to have Jessica to real quick talk about the curriculum as far as for middle school, as far as in her math courses.
Well, our curriculum in Texas was kind of unique because Texas doesn't do Common Core, and we have a sort of a different way of teaching things for some reason for Texas. But the online school that has been referenced before that is provided by K-12 Stride is really fabulous. It's very interactive. Students can go through it at their own pace. There's matching, there's fill in the blanks, there's videos, there's cartoons. It's really cool. For Texas, they actually custom built, and I worked with product development on custom building the 8th grade math course and the middle school math courses. So that's something that's been really unique. It's almost like you get to sit with the people designing your textbook and say, that's good, that's not good, let's make that better. And we're still this year tweaking it together. We got the new course last year, but we're still in communication saying, you know what, this question on this test wasn't so great. So you do have a little bit of a say, and you can submit feedback. They're very open to feedback with the curriculum and the course, which has been really great for us, especially in Texas being so unique. And so that's been great. And it makes our lesson planning a lot easier because it's right there, it's guided. There's built-in quizzes that grade themselves and put the grades in the grade book for you. So the grading is a lot less compared to the brick and mortar that I was in before. So that's been really helpful. But we plan like a team, just like everybody says. We're just really together as a unit. I have my PowerPoints from the last 6 years, and we just build and build. And that first year, it did take hours and hours and hours, but it was worth it because we still have them now. And I have a team of 5 teachers, and so we take a week, and I do the plans basically every 5 weeks. So it's great.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. So moving on to our the digital tools and resources. I know we spoke a little bit talking about the platform we use now is neuro, sorry, I said neuro. Nancy, if you could tell us a little bit about the digital tools and resources that our teachers are using.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of people have kind of been tapping into it and talking about it, and I see some going on in the chat. I think digitally speaking, teachers or employees at Stride are really set up for success. A little bit different maybe in each case, in each state, and a minimum, teachers are provided with laptops and printers. In some cases, they might get monitors, they might get headsets, but you are provided that laptop, as well as really an age appropriate interface. I mean, the thing that Stride does really well is recognizes that what is going to work and talk to a kindergartner is very different than what we expect for a 12th grader. So there's a very significant difference between our K through 5, our elementary platform, our OLS, and our 6 through 12, our middle school. So very different interfaces there. And like they've been mentioning, Jessica was talking about the really highly interactive K-12 core digital curriculum, and not just core. I mean, all of the electives, music, art, things like that are already provided with you for them. And oftentimes there might be some physical material that are required that they then will also send out. Like maybe there are some base 10 blocks that the students need, or some science, material that then will be provided and shipped out to the students, as well as maybe any books. And yeah, new this year, and really we're heading into it as a completely 100% onboarded platform next year, is the video-based classroom tool called Neuro. So we are moving away from where we used to be, which was Blackboard Collaborate, and we are moving towards Neuro, which I guess I would like to describe it, if you're a brick and mortar teacher and you've used smart boards, it's very similar to having that smart board, where you can pull up videos, you can write on it, things like that. But it's also got that video capability of Zoom. So if you kind of want to merge those two together, that would be a great description for Neuro. But it's a really interactive, very kind of modern look classroom teaching tool where kids can come in, their videos are on, we can give quizzes, we can load in YouTubes, there's polling tools, we could send them to breakout rooms. So we're still building it a little bit as we fly the plane, perhaps. So there's some little bumps in the road, but they're really doing a nice job of kind of listening to us and building it for our needs as well. And then you guys have heard, it's not like, it's very similar to brick and mortar. You're going to be handed your book, your curriculum, it's already loaded in. But the nice thing I think too with digitally speaking is you still have the ability to call the audible as a teacher, right? You still have the ability to modify, to differentiate. You can manage schedules, you can rearrange scope and sequence, you can customize your lessons, you can hide things, you can take things out, you can put things in, you can track your progress. It's kind of a lot of gamified learning systems, which is really what we know speaks to our kids, is how they learn. You have access to, I think over 17,000 different e-learning books through the big universe. As a teacher, you have things that are like release conditions or intelligent agents, where maybe I can kind of control their pacing, where I might not release a unit exam until they meet certain criteria, whether it be scoring certain percentage on a quiz or visiting all of the material in that unit. So there's a lot of control that the teachers have in terms of being able to really make it their own. The curriculum's there, but you can put your fine touches on it. And like these guys have talked about, I think one of the most amazing pieces about the resources is just network of teachers in itself. You'd think because you're working from your home that you really aren't going to connect as well with other teachers, but it's amazing the support you have, not just from your teachers in your school, your department, but really across the country. And like Christina and I, who work in the talent development community, we're here to support you. You can set up meetings with us, and we'll be there to work with you and walk alongside you and help you get ready and kind of work through this virtual education piece together. So really well set up, digitally speaking.
Thanks, Nancy. I do want to move to professional development, and I want to call on Christina to talk a little bit about that. I know since we're virtual, it changed a bit, but I want to just have her share what that looks like for those that are watching.
Yeah, so just like how everybody else has mentioned, that think of like a brick and mortar school, we still do the same thing because we're all licensed teachers. We have to make sure that those licenses get renewed. I know here in Colorado, you need 90 hours, I think within 5 years. So what it looks like will vary a little bit depending on which school that you're in. Or especially now with COVID times, it's really going to depend whether you're doing face-to-face or just online professional development. So just from my experience when I was working in Colorado at Colorado Preparatory Academy, we would meet for 2 days at launch. So in August, before school started, we'd meet for 2 days. Then we would have a professional development day right before testing. We would get training for, any changes made for state standardized testing. And then we would always meet again at the end of the year. So it was usually like 3 times throughout the year, but I know some schools meet more often than that. It just depends a little bit. You get certificates after every PD so that you can keep those and house them somewhere and present them to just the state so that you can renew your license. So it's one area of professional development that we do, that face-to-face, or it could be virtual for your staff. And then K-12 also has something called K-12 Training, which is a website that houses just a plethora of trainings that you can take, whether it's how to utilize our platforms, like at the online school for the elementary students, the OMHS for our middle and high school students. Nancy was talking about Neuro. There's training in there for Neuro. And so this can be something that your administration might assign to you. I know some admins will give their teachers a list and are like, okay, here's a list of possible trainings in K-12. Please pick X amount and I want you to complete these by such and such date. And all of those professional developments, those trainings as well, you do receive a certificate and you can use that towards your to the renewal of your license as well. So there's so many ways for teachers to learn new things, put more tools into their toolbox, and just expand their knowledge in this online world. That you will never get bored of professional development, because things are always changing and we're always updating and making our platforms better. And so those are really the main ways that we provide professional development for our faculty.
Thank you, Christina. And I want to also, just keeping track of time, want to make sure we can answer some questions as well. I did see someone asking about parental involvement, which goes on with student and parent engagement. So I wanted to quickly ask, oops, sorry, I'm dealing with 2 screens, about what the parent and student engagement is like. And I guess we can, Lauren, if you want to talk what that's like for your elementary students and parents.
Absolutely. So parent engagement, parent involvement, I would say is very much similar to a brick and mortar school, where you have some parents that are very on top of it, very with it. And then you have some parents or learning coaches that are completely just oblivious to what's going on. But we make a very important point to contact each student every week. So our slogan for TNVA is every student, every day, whatever it takes. So I have even gone to the point of calling an emergency contact and saying, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of this parent, this person. I need you to call me back. So we really do whatever we can to be in a relationship with every parent or a learning coach if it's not the parent. Like I said, some parents are really on top of it, emailing every day, multiple times a day, and then some we haven't heard from since January. So it's very similar to a brick and mortar situation. Hope that.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Oh, I'm sorry, I put myself on mute. Thanks again, Lauren. Now, I want to make sure, before the teacher evaluation, make sure it wasn't anything else. Okay, let me go to the hiring process really quickly, so then we can go into questions. So as far as what you've heard so far, from all of our different teachers, but I wanted to give like just the requirements again. To be able to teach at Stride, all of our teachers have a valid teaching license, and that's prior to hire. So those that you may be working on your licensure or whatnot, once you've completed that, you can go to our site to apply for positions. Again, our teachers, they also must reside in the state where the school is located. And I know there are, we do have a couple schools that have differences, but we can let you know that, and we can do that offline. But for most of our schools, our Stride-powered schools, the teacher must reside in that state and also be licensed, certified in the grade level and subject area for the position. And we'll also answer more questions on that as well. But as far as the hiring process, to do so, you will go onto our website, which is stridellearning.com/careers, and you would apply for a teaching position there. We'll also put it in the chat box for you to have. Once you apply for a position on our website, then we'll have a recruiter to review that application. After they review the application, if selected, then the applicant will receive a HireVue invite, and that's our platform that we use for our interviewing. So they will send you an on-demand interview, which is basically that's a pre-recorded interview that you would do. Basically, there's a few questions that you will answer, and you'll be on video like I'm talking to you right now, and you would record those answers virtually. And then that's sent back for the hiring manager to evaluate. And then again, if selected to move forward, then the applicant will receive another invite to do either a phone interview or another virtual interview. If we were still able to be in the building, then that's where the face-to-face would come in, but it would be a virtual, you'll be talking face-to-face online to the hiring manager for your second interview. And then after that interview, again, if they decide to move forward, then you will be extended an offer to the applicant, and the recruiter would be calling you to extend that offer. But this is the hiring process that we go through for our teachers, as well as other applicants that apply to positions on our website. But I wanted to go through that really quickly so we can get some questions and answers. And if you have those, you can put them in the Q&A box. It's you should see a bar at the bottom of the screen or top, and it says Q&A. Or if you want to write them in the chat, because I see quite a few people are in the chat box as well. But you can definitely put those questions, and we will try to answer some of those live right now before we wrap up. And while you all are putting your questions in the chat, if you haven't already, please be sure to follow us. We are on Careers at Stride, and that's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where you can, we basically post a lot about what it's like to work at K-12. We do different events that are coming up for the month. And if you also just want to join our talent communities where you can stay in the loop of different upcoming events, you'll get our emails of different webinars for the next month. You can use the QR code that's being shown right now. You can either put your phone to the screen and you can send it that way, or we'll put that link in the chat box. But feel free to put in your questions. We'll try to answer some of those right now. And I'm seeing my phone, so continue to follow. I like seeing these notifications. All right.
Hi, Andrea or
Yep,
Drea.
go ahead.
Sorry. Someone had a question about discipline.
Sure.
I think that's on a lot of people's minds. So like I said, I was in brick and mortar for 10 years in an elementary school, and I've had chairs thrown at me, been spit on, cussed out, so you name it, it happened to me. So one of the great things about teaching virtually is I don't have to duck every 5 minutes because something being thrown at me. So kids that are new to the virtual world, really push your buttons about what they can get away with in the chat box or using their tools, or what can they blurt out with the mic. So we're still using Blackboard platform. We haven't transitioned to Neuro yet. So if a student is being disruptive, there's always a verbal warning first. Okay, if you're not going to use your tools properly, you're going to get them taken away. And if that doesn't work, if they figure out a way to privately chat in the chat box, I've had to stop in the middle of class, pick up my phone, call a learning coach and say, hey, your kid is using the tools improperly. Can you please speak to them about being a respectful classmate and what it means to be a student here at TMBA? And after that phone call, kids are like, oh, I have to follow the rules here, just like in brick and mortar. And that really helps. Let them know that, hey, you have class expectations. We go over those every single day. And they know they can recite them, and they really take to heart and really take responsibility for their actions, because their classmates will call them out. If they don't get their reward point for that day, if you're the person that's causing them to not get their class point, they're going to call you out and let you know.
Thanks, Lauren. I saw someone post or ask what month does Stride usually post our teaching positions for next school year. We're currently posting those positions now. So you can definitely go onto our website to start applying for those positions. And we'll continue to add more positions as they become available. Let's see.
I wanted to speak to the discipline too for a second, if I could. It is refreshing, just like Lauren said, like we're not doing active shooter drills anymore. There's like, it's just not on your mind anymore, which is a relief. With Neuro, we did do some special training for crisis intervention because, well, we were anticipating, at least in the high school level, we haven't seen this, but we were anticipating like, all right, everybody's gonna be on camera, so we might see some things. In high school, yeah, I might have like 2 out of 40 kids on camera in my live lessons. But in the 3 years I've been at Insight, I can think of one instance where we removed a student for cyberbullying. She had like found someone else's login information. It was like logging in as other students and just some really nasty stuff. So she was removed from school. And I can think of one other student who was just really distracting and abusive in my live lesson. He would like go on mic and shout things. We were studying evolution and he was just very anti everything I was trying to say and like slurring Charles Darwin. So we had a talk with his learning coach about like, hey, like appropriate behavior in Class Connect. And I ended up he just didn't have mic and chat privileges anymore until he learned to not behave that way in live lesson. But in 3 years, really, like 2 instances. So the whole discipline thing is kind of a different world. You're really managing people and trying to, at least in my experience, bring out engagement. It's very different. You're really not like that whole like keeping a lid on a boiling pot anymore like it is in person.
I saw someone ask about breaks, like as far as like holidays or whatnot, if either one of the teacher trainers wanted to talk about their school year or what the year is like for our teachers when they report and when they have their breaks.
We take breaks. So we have summers off and our spring break is next week and we have a winter break. So yeah, it's like brick and mortar and that way we have the same breaks. Yeah.
All right, there was another one I wanted to bring up. Oh, that was one question I was going to ask. I know a couple of you were talking about the learning coaches, but could you explain to those that are watching what the learning coach is? Because I know that is like one question that we do get.
Sure, I can. The learning coach is basically, it might be a parent, a guardian, an aunt, uncle, a neighbor, whoever it is that is the responsible party for making sure that that student is getting their education on the other side of the computer. You know, we're there live, we're calling, but we can't be there next to the student saying, open your textbook and practice or do your lesson, turn your computer on, log in. So that learning coach is the person responsible. They have to check the emails. They're the ones checking the grade book, but it's not always a parent. So we call it the learning coach.
Awesome. Thanks.
There are a lot of questions about benefits. Just what benefits in general are available. We have a teacher that wants to jump maybe, I can say we have all the healthcare. We also have retirement, but maybe kind of what do you find are your benefits for being a virtual teacher?
So I'll jump in. I feel like I'm talking a lot. Sorry. I'm just excited because I want people to work for Stride. Like you have no idea. It's been life changing. So the best benefit I would say is that my mental health is great now. So like I didn't know how I would do with virtual, but it's been such a blessing for my family and my teaching. My love for teaching has just blossomed again. But as far as actual like tangible benefits, I carry health insurance for my family, life insurance, dental, vision, 401k. So everything that you would get with like a state system, you get it with Stride as well. There were some questions. Does this count for state retirement? I was told when I was hired that because we are a corporation, it does not count towards state retirement, but we do have a 401k. So there is something coming out for a retirement, but it's not in line with like Tennessee's state retirement. So hopefully that answers.
And there is a little bit of matching with the 401k, which is really exciting as well. And my husband works in the local brick and mortar district, and the benefits are so not great with that district. So he's actually on my K-12 benefits because they're really good. And I have a son that has medical needs. And another benefit is that there's a little bit of flexibility in the schedule sometimes for some of us. I know not all schools are this way, but I'm able to take him to all of his doctor's appointments every week, and I don't have to take off days to do that. So that's been really great. And then the health benefits have been life-changing for us because his medical care was unbelievable before I got the benefits with K-12. So that's been also a huge blessing for us.
So what you were talking about flex time, that's any time that for me personally, anytime we need to take that's not during a live class is considered flex time. So I pick up my kids from school every day, like 2:45 to 3:15, but it is my responsibility to make up that time elsewhere. So I'll work until 5 to make up that 30 minutes, or I'll work after the kids are put to bed. I'll log back on at 9 and work 9 to 9:30. So we do have that opportunity to be more of a family and do things that I wouldn't typically get to do during brick and mortar.
And if I could just add to that too, like your commute is zero, which is wonderful. You don't have to spend money on professional dress. I mean, of course, we dress in an appropriate manner. We're not wearing our PJs or anything, but you don't have to wear like dress slacks. And I think just after this past crazy year, the best thing is like we don't have to wear a mask to work either. So kind of what Lauren was saying, just like the mental health benefits and how you can be present for your family more. Like I've got 4 little ones at school and I can take them on a field trip or, and I was able to do that as well when I was a teacher, not just as a teacher trainer. So there's a lot of kind of little things that add up here and there that you don't maybe realize how great they can be until you're experiencing it, and your commute to your coffee pot is like 10 seconds and it's great.
That's true. I'd like to piggyback on that too. I have 3 kids, 2 of whom have severe visual impairments. So they see an ophthalmologist about every 3 months. And in the brick and mortar school, that meant like taking an entire day off to get them to the doctor's office, with all the logistics. And here it's like an hour, maybe 2 hours, because I stay logged on until literally the moment it's time to leave. And then I just take we have sick time and vacation time at my school. We still log, but yeah, and so then I just take my 2 hours of sick time, to take them, and then I can come back in and log back in and get right back to work. So that's, yeah, another benefit, just the flexibility and the money I've saved on gas. My car didn't move much at all, especially during the pandemic, because yeah, I mean, the kids were learning from home since their school closed, and then I was teaching from home. So
I saw someone asking about special education. I'm not sure with Christina if you wanted to. I saw someone typing. If you wanted to either answer it on the mic.
For sure. I saw, could you touch on special education? And I mean, we could probably spend like an hour touching on special education. So feel free to stop me in the chat or be more specific. But, we do have special education teachers who have meetings with those families. They work on writing their IEPs. We have 504s. We can test for students. We have processes in place like MTSS, which is multi-tiered student support, to help address or identify any gaps that we see in student learning and just see if students need more support. Of course, that also goes into play with spring testing, state standardized testing. So students that have those modifications and accommodations in our classrooms, I know it sounds like you might not need to do that because we're not face-to-face with students, but you do. And we can apply those for students when they're doing their state testing. So again, I know I've said this before, anything that you are familiar with in brick and mortar, we have here at our Stride schools.
Thanks,
There's some questions. There's a really good question. Are there buzzwords or things that I should know to help me be prepared for my interview? Does anybody want to add anything about, how their conversations when working?
Well, as a lead teacher, I am able to do a lot of interviews when we hire teachers and things that I mean, every school's different and, every school's going to have their priorities. But for us, we just look for someone who has really great energy and has a positive collaborative attitude. We really look for collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And I think that is pretty much Stride wide. And we also look for someone who's very student centered and likes to think outside the box and looks for solutions, very solution focused, and things like that. I hope that helps.
That's helpful. There's been a couple of people that asked about electives. What does art look like? What do other electives look like?
I know at my school, the electives have specific blocks. So at our school, the electives teach at 8:30, and then they have another block at 12:30. And the electives at my school are only 30 minutes long, and they actually only see their students once, maybe twice a week. If it's something like a high school elective, like Spanish 1 or health, they might see their students 3 times a week. So it's not quite as heavy as the core subjects as far as the live teaching time. However, they do have a much higher student load than the core teachers. So they might have, 500-600 students or even 800 students that they're responsible for in the grade books. But again, everything's online and they do have an online platform. They have their own online courses and everything is built in there. So it's a little bit different. It's more student heavy, maybe more emails and things and less of the live teaching time, at least at my school.
And someone just asked about what does remediation for students behind grade level in math look like?
Am I the only math teacher? I feel like I'm talking a lot now too. So, but as a math teacher for remediation, we've actually started, we kind of go back and forth year to year, semester to semester, where we do leveled classes. We might have classes really focused on the struggling learners and they might come 4 days a week. Our more advanced learners might come twice a week. We also have an academy time where we invite specific students that are struggling on a specific assignment or that failed a specific test to come in. We have what's called lunch and learn every every day from 12 to 12:30, different subjects have a different day, so they can come into that. You can invite specific students or just open it up to everybody. We always have office hours that students can pop in if they just have a question. But we do have intentional remediation. We have the RTI program as well. My school has intervention teachers who do the RTI program for us. Unlike, I know Lauren was mentioning that she kind of does that process herself. So it's different kind of at different schools, but there's definitely data, lots of data tracking. That's another buzzword for your interview is looking at the data, lots of data driven instruction and planning. So we definitely are always tracking the data and looking at that.
At our school, we are supporting math and English. We use the NWEA test for growth measurements. That's a big thing at our school. And it's funny you bring that up because right now we just have been doing these brainstorming sessions in our professional developments where we're trying to have non-math and English teachers support math and English growth. And so like a science teacher, the science department got together like, okay, how can we build this into our alignment? What can we do? And we figured out a way to revamp the part 2s of our unit tests. We're completely scrapping them and redoing them in a way that would support the English growth measurements, like where we see the most deficiency in the NWEA scores. So again, data-driven instruction, big, that's a good buzzword. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, so not just, I'm sure our math and English departments, like you were saying, Jessica, have their thing, but then even outside of math and English, at least at my school, it is a big thing right now. We're trying to kind of figure out actually how to make that all hands on deck and support students who aren't showing growth or who are even going backwards without, necessarily live instruction, because we have found only about 30% of our students attend live instruction statistically. So we're trying to think like, how can we, and I know it's crazy. We have a big group of asynchronous learners, but again, I'm at an alternative school, so it's a little different there. So we're trying to like, how can we reach them outside of live lessons? And so we've incorporated that into the content.
I will say, because a lot of people have asked, we will have a special education specific webinar that's going to be coming up in May. Please join this talent community. And Courtney can put the code back in the thing as well. You can just literally put your phone up to this and sign up in like 4 seconds. We need special education teachers. And thank you guys for the buzzwords. You guys really came through with some really great words. And for those of you who are practicing and getting prepared for this, like definitely data, growth, all those words are, also look through our website. We definitely, you'll see the word growth and data all over the place.
I did see one person ask about how teachers are evaluated. If one of our trainers wanted to comment on that.
Sure, I can speak to that. So I don't know your experiences with brick and mortar, but when I came to Stride Schools, I got more feedback and my classroom was visited way more often. One brick and mortar I worked at in 3 years, I was observed twice. So what it looked like in my school was our lead and our principal would visit our classroom once a month. So we were observed informally 2 times every month. And then we would have like a 30-minute feedback session to get some coaching and some tips and things from our teacher, or excuse me, from the lead teacher, from the admin, set some goals, things that we wanted to do to help us grow. And then we would have 2 formal observations from admin every semester. And so it was very transparent. You would see the state rubric. It's the same one that we used virtually for the virtual schools as the brick and mortar schools here in Colorado. It's the same thing, but just a little bit different with how we observed things or how we collected data, how we showed artifacts and things like that. So all of that was the same. During those observations and those meetings to kind of debrief about the observations, we could take snips from our lessons, which is just like pictures, add those to our artifacts for our teacher evaluation at the end of the year. And that was something that my principal was really dedicated to maintaining, that we stayed on top of. So it didn't hit April and then all of a sudden we're scrambling to gather all of these artifacts to kind of justify ourselves as teachers. So instead of being something that was really kind of stressful, especially if you weren't even observed for a full year, or your admin was writing up how you were doing for your teacher evaluation. I always just felt really supported by admin, and someone walked alongside with us to help us, score well on that evaluation, and just really demonstrate the teaching and all the hard work that we did.
And that's also what part of what Christina and I do in our talent development is we will also be walking the halls, we call it, of a lot of the teachers. So we just kind of go in and out of classrooms and we collect some data and we share that data. And so there is a lot of opportunity for feedback and growth for sure from these evaluation tools that Stride uses.
And these are on TN Compass for me. So it does, these evaluations and observations do get logged into the state system. So it does count for our years of experience, these evaluations that we have in Tennessee. So I'm sure it's the same throughout every state, but just wanted to make that clear. It does go on your state website, it does go on your license, and it does give you points on your PDP.
Thank you, ladies. And I will try to stay on time. We are already at our hour. I want to thank all of our teachers and teacher trainers for talking to us today and sharing their experiences, our different topics about virtual teaching. I know we weren't able to answer everyone's questions, but please be sure to follow us. If you do have any other questions, you can send us an email at talentteam@k12.com. talentteam@k12.com. Yes, if you have any other additional questions, please be sure to follow us. My phone has been blowing up, so I do appreciate it. Careers at Stride. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Again, we will have another webinar next month, and that is going to be about applying to Stride. And since someone asked about the buzzwords, I think we'll make sure we'll include a slide on that. So thank you for that question, whoever asked that. But again, please follow us again at Careers at Stride, and we will see you again next month in April for our next webinar. But thank you to everyone for joining, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.